This video tutorial series will be very tense and should be for Blender beginners. I want to classify this project to 6 steps: modeling, render settings, water, soil, decoration part 1, decoration part 2. But let's start with step 2, render settings. Welcome back, people! This is the current state where we stopped the last time, and this is my actual model. And I want to start with the rendering today. So I want to add a camera, I want to add light sources, I want to create a material for the glass tank, and I want to create a nice render at the end of this video, so that we can use this already for some testing. Is the light nice? Is the shadow too dark? Or something like this. So we need to figure out how to simulate materials and shading so that everything is working. So currently we can watch through this glass tank here because it is a solid face. And this is about this render views here. Here we see that we are currently in solid view. Then when we activate the next one, when we enable this one, this is the material preview. So we see all the materials. We haven't any materials yet and any textures, so we can't see anything here. And the last tab is the rendered mode, and we see nothing here because there's no light source, there's nothing here so far, and we don't have anything enabled. So I switch back to the solid mode, and when we talk about rendering, then I firstly need to say that I'm not very experienced at render settings, at materials and shaders. I just learned this by some other tutorials. And for example, we are here in the render properties, and I have just selected some settings which were advised by others on YouTube. So please don't ask me what every single setting is doing. So, but what I know is that we need a camera so that we select a position and an angle to look at this object. So where should the position of my object, so that I can take this render and have always the same position. Currently we are here in 3D Viewport and I'm moving freely. So this is very useful for modeling, but if we want to render, then we should select a camera. And if I press Shift A to call up the add menu, then we usually add this section here, but there are much more options. And for example, here is as well the camera. And when I select this one, then this will be somewhere here. And I just grab this, and or with the G key, I can just move it around. And this is our camera. This is the position, and this is the direction where this camera looks to. And we can simply check out what is the current frame for this camera by selecting this little icon here. And then we are immediately inside of the camera, and this is our canvas. This is our image in the end. When I just press the middle mouse button, then I will leave this current view, and the shortcut for entering the camera is as well as the 0. When I press 0 on the number pad, then I will come into this view again. But when I press 0, then I need to adjust the canvas position. This is not very informative about my fish tank, and I want to keep my fish tank for sure in the middle of this. So I will leave this view, current view, and I will add another workspace. For example, I have here now my camera, and I will enter this. So just give this position here, and in this view I can always move freely. So for example, when I can just grab the camera here and move the camera, and then my canvas will change as well. And this is what I want to so far. And I can call up the values about this. So for example, here this is my value for the camera, and we have some rotation here. I'm not sure if this is wanted. So for example, I bring this to 0. I can rotate this here as well, or example this here, and I can navigate here for sure as well. to get a nice view on this one. So, for example, is this a nice position? So I just try to bring this into the middle or just to a nice angle here. Maybe this is not the best. Maybe I will just pull it somewhere here to this position, and then I give it more rotation to this. And for sure this is just my current angle of the camera and my current position, and I can always change the position. So this is just for the preview for now. I just like this view on the tank so far. And the camera can be adjusted as well. For example, by going to the property shelf here, this is the little camera property icon here, and when I select this, then I have all the camera properties, and by clicking on a different object, for example this plane here, then I don't have this because it's not a camera for sure. But the camera setting, for example, gives you some information about focal length. Just for example, when I can change this. This can be as well very interesting if you don't want to change distance. Alright, but now I switch here to the shading mode. This should be my render view, and this is just my workspace where I want to check what is going on in my scene. And now I want to add some lights so that I see something here. There's absolutely darkness and there's nothing to see. When I just press Shift plus A, then there are for sure the camera and meshes, but there are as well lights. And there are different kinds of lights in Blender. This is the point light, the sun light, spotlight and area light. And just for visualization, I just test now the point light, which creates this light on this position. And when I just grab this here, yeah, then this gives me this circle radius light, which gives to all direction the light information. And we are currently here in the light property settings, and we are able to just select and color, or the power, or change the radius, and so on. For example, I can disable as well cast shadows. This is as well maybe an interesting option. So just for information, this is the point light. We are able to just switch here as well to sunlight. This is the same option then adding here now the sunlight. So we have here the same option like here. We can switch between lights very easily with this setting here. And sunlight is just one straight direction where the light is coming from and where the light is going to. So this is now directly from the top going to the bottom. There's no angle at all. So we getting this hard shadow here. And when I just rotate this light source now, then we see that we getting different shadows and different highlighted faces and shadows. So we are able to just rotate this very easily. So just I give this back this white light here, and for sure the strength can be changed as well for the sunlight. Anyway, then we have a spotlight. Spotlight is like we have as well a starting position of the light and the direction where the light is going to, and this makes this, maybe you see it in cinema or in theater. Then we have this spotlight with this very nice spot. And we can make this bigger and smaller, and there is as well a blend function for this one. And yeah, this is the spotlight. And the last one is an area light. The area light is more or less a specific face or a specific surface which is emitting light, and this is, for example, this could be a window or something like this, or a different light source which have this square shape. We can change this shape as well to a rectangle, disc, ellipse. And personally, I love this light source most, so I usually love to work with the sunlight and arrow light and point light. Yeah, it's more like diffuse spotlight as well, interesting, but yeah, it depends what you want to do. And probably you are asking yourself why we have this noisy pattern here, why there's no beautiful gradient from the dark to the light areas or parts, and why we have this crazy, this very noisy pattern and shadow elements here. And this is basically because we are working currently with Cycles. And Cycles is a render engine, and we are able to just select this and, for example, switch to Eevee. And Eevee is a faster method to get a result for sure, and we get cleaner shapes here and cleaner shadows, but the render result in the end is better with Cycles. So I can't really tell you the difference between Eevee and Cycles, but I've heard that Cycles is still the best, and if you want to work with nodes later, then we have more opportunities to work with Cycles. And for sure there's this noisy pattern, but this is about the sampling, and the sampling tells you how many noise is inside your light information. And when we render this image right now, then we have 250 samples currently, and the viewport have 32 samples, and so we're getting a very low resolution of our render. But when we render, then we're getting a higher resolution for this. And just to test this, I will render this image right now, and just click here on render image. Okay, this is the final render, and you see there's still this noise inside of there. But if you compare this with this one, so there's much more noise, and this is a much smoother result than this one here. And so this is just in preview. The viewport is a preview compared to your final render, and this render time took a lot of longer than this result here. So if I just take this camera and just pull it somewhere else, then this is immediately rendering again and gives you a new result. So for example, I just rotate this now, and you have immediately the result with all the light information, but it's not that exact than the final render in the end. So just to let you know about this. Okay, I want to find a nice light setup, and we'll play around a little bit with all the lights and the shadows, and just work with the elements which I just showed you, and then we will continue with the tutorial. See you soon. Okay, this is my result so far. I have just chosen those two error light sources. One is this one here, and the second one is this one, and I think this will be some kind of a light which is coming through a window, but let's change this afterwards when we're adding some shaders and so on. Okay, so far so good. The next step I want to do, or I want to add to this scene, is a light source for the LED lamp, which is emitting as well a light into the fish tank. We want to create a light which is going from this down to the tank itself. And I will just go here to light and add as well an arrow light, which is emitting light to the bottom. And I will just pull this up to this position and scale it down till it is fitting to our lamp. Okay, and then S and epsilon for scaling it to this direction as well. And it is way too much to the Z axis, so I will pull it down till it is at this position. Now it is emitting light to the fish tank, and we are able to just give it a decent color tone if you want to, or change the power of this, but I can adjust this as well later. So this is the basic setup for the light so far, and next I want to go to the next step, which is the material tab, which is adding material to the scene. So far this is all a solid basic default material, and we want to create now a class so that the light is going through the material and lighten up the whole box, the glass box. So I will just select my glass tank so far, and we have here the material tab, the material properties. And as I told you before, we have currently 0 materials added to this object, and every object has different selection for materials. So far, when I select this one, there will be probably different materials than this object, but we are able to just select all materials of the scene here. But I will show you this later. So far I will just add another slot and click here on new, and this is now our basic default principal BSDF shader, which is assigned by default to this object now. And for sure we are able to just do there some settings. For example, I bring the roughness down to 0 and the transmission up to 1. There's already some transparent stuff going on, but there's no light floating through the glass for sure. We need to assign here as well the material. I will just add here the plus button, and then I will select our glass material here. And I need to do this as well here for this one. And the last thing, this little holder pieces here as well. Just select the material, but you see the light is not going through it. There's something going on. And I will just name this now glass material. Okay, and we're able to just switch the material by clicking here on surface, and I will just select now the glass BSDF shader, which is changing the result as well. But we are still getting no light into the tank, and this is a problem for me. So I will just call up a new workspace. So here's still our rendering or rendering preview. And I want to select now a different workspace, and I go to the shader editor, and the shader editor gives me a node editor which is working with this little tiny nodes here, which creates our shader. So this is our shader which is working for the object, and whatever I do here will influence our shader. For example, I just pull away the glass BSDF connection, and then our object getting black because there's no shader information about this at all. So this is the output, this is the result. There's only one path going to this position, and we need to find a proper nodes to create our material. And so far we have this glass BSDF shader, and I will just follow some guidelines which I found in the internet as well. So all credits are in my description of this video, and I will just add now a mix shader and add it to our chain, So when I just click on this chain, then it will be automatically added to this. And this is now a mix shader, which gives you the possibility to add another shader. And I want the transparent BSDF shader, which is as well a shader, and I will mix this. And you see there's already something going on, so there's a new result for the light. But this is still not finished so far, and I will add a light path next. So the light path node, which gives you more control about how much light is going through the glass material. So I will just grab the shadow ray and pull it to the FAC input. And now you see there's already something going on. But this is not all, and we are able to just control how much light is going through this by adding another node, which is the math node. And the math node will be added here to this chain, and I will just switch this function here to a minimum, and now we are able to control how much light is going through. So 0 will be very less light is going through it, and 1 is very much light is going through this. And this is how we can control how much light should be in our tank. And this is actually looking nicely so far. Okay, and I want to add some very basic shaders to our single objects, for example to the floor, to the wall, to the shelf and to the lamp itself, so that we get some color difference, so that we can say, okay, this is this one, this is this one. And I want to add some textures for those materials as well, but I will do this a little bit later, and for now a single material will be totally fine. So I will just grab this and add a new material as well here. There will be a new material, and I will just make this, for example, now this tone here, so that we get really some basic color here. And this should be as well a different color. For example, this should be gray or something like this, so a dark gray, and assign this. Okay, maybe bring this more to the middle, just here. Okay, a dark gray or something like this. Okay, looks as well different. And the lamp itself should as well get a material, so I will add here some kind of a black or something like this, so that this is pretty dark. And probably I want to rise the specularity here a little bit, and roughness should be as well a little bit less. Okay, but maybe this is too dark, so I pull this back to this value. Okay, so but this is just a basic default material, so that we can differentiate what object is what. Okay, but when we take a closer look to our 3D viewport, to our class, then this is not really looking realistic. We just have our light sources there, and we have our materials, but there's nothing really realistic behind this. And we're able to adjust the environment by adding an HDRI map to this scene. And an HDRI map is creating some kind of a sky map. When you are from game production, then you know this word. So if it is creating a sky map, so we're getting an environment texture information which is reflecting or which is influencing our material as well. And we need to download an HDRI map so that we can place this in this scene here. And when you want to download an HDRI map, then I visited the website HDRIheaven.com, and there you get an overview for so many environment maps, and just look at it and choose a proper one for yourself. For example, I want to have something which is indoor because we have this environment where our fish tank is, and I need to place this now within the scene. And for example, if you click here and this one, this is the world properties, and you see here that we have here background and color and strength, and this is our basic setup for the environment for the rendering. But I will do this a little bit different. I go here again to the shader editor, and there you have object selected, and we are able to just select this one here and click on world. And by doing this, we're getting as well a node, and this is the world output node, which gives me as well the background, which is here. And the thing what we need now is not an image texture or something like this. We need an environment texture, and we find this here under texture, and there you find environment texture. And I will place this just here and pull this input to this one, so that we're getting now this node. So this node is influencing now our world output. And I will just open the correct HDRI image, which will be here in my folder. And I already downloaded this one, and I will open this one. And this will influence our reflection within the class material. And this already looks different. So if I just go here now and to this one, then this will influence our glass material. I have currently a transparent background. This happens when I go here to my render properties, and when I click here on film, then I have currently transparent enabled. By disabling this will call up my background, and this background is showing our sky map, what is HDRI map, and this is now our room so far. Okay, but I will go back to this one. You see that this is the material preview and there's this shader not working. So I go back to solid so I can navigate without all this noise pattern here. Alright, I switch back here to object again so that I can do some adjustments for our shader very quickly. Okay, I will just rush through my render settings, which I have as well changed for this video. For example, here the sampling, I guess this was a little bit different. Very important is as well that I'm currently using my GPU compute function. This is only possible to select when you go to edit, preferences, and there you have to select system, and there you can select the render cycle devices. And I guess by default you have none selected, which is not good because then this will slow down your rendering process. It is advisable to take CUDA or OpticX or OpenGL and to work with both of them. So I'm using the GeForce, my graphic card, and the Intel Core. And I have done some changes as well here. So I have this from as well a YouTube tutorial. This was his advice for the settings. So I close this now, and now the rendering should be as well a little bit faster. We have some changes here in the render, I guess. And when I open up the advanced panel, then there was as well some differences. But I will just open this here. I can't tell you what exactly is going on here. As well here to the light paths. The guy said that I need to change everything to 4 here and a total max bounce to 6. Clamping should be 6 as well, and the caustics filter glosses should be 1 without any caustics enabled. That's it so far. I can minimize film again. Well, so this is more or less all the changes. When you want to change your canvas size, then you have to select this little output property icon here, and then you're coming to the scene, and when you expand the dimension, then you have here the resolution of our canvas. So we have now a full HD image resolution of 1920 pixel width and 1080 height. And if we are rendering a movie or a short animation clip, then we can select here in start and end frame and our FPS rate. In the end, we are rendering to this folder and we are getting this format. And if I change this to a movie, then I will probably select AVI JPEG, and this will be our current render result so far. Well, this is our final render result so far, and you see that there's still so much noise going on here. And I want to show you the last thing in this video to denoise this pattern here. So this is our current result so far. I will just minimize this one and call up a new workspace. I will just make this a little bit bigger so that we see a little bit more, and I switch as well the workspace and go to the compositor, and this compositor takes the end result and is as well some kind of photo editing node editor. So this is our rendering so far, render layers, you see this here now, and then we see the composite node, which is the result. I will just switch as well the panel here so that we see what is going on. I go here to the image editor and I change now this one to the render result so that we see immediately what is going on. So this is my render image, and I just add now a denoise node, denoise. And we see that this is now clean. So this node is denoising our image basically, but it will influence as well our general shape as well, but in a very slightly way. So I think there is nothing bad going on by using this node so far here. When I go back to my basic render, then you see that there's so much noise here, and this is really not good for all the shadows and gradients, which shouldn't be like this. So this is not a nice render result, so we'll just go here to this one here, and you see this is so much better. And we are still able to add more here. For example, when I go here, then we can go to filter and add any kind of filters like a blur or some glare filters, or as well some brightness contrast node. So we adjust here as well the brightness and the contrast. And for sure, now we're getting a different result for this here. But this is just a composite, and I am totally fine with the current render result, and I like it is here. Okay guys, I want to show you a quick addition to the light sources in this scene, which would be possible to use. You know that I have worked with this area light here, with this squared shaped light, and I just can enable this one, and then it is dark again. And this was just one solution. You can use maybe a different solution as well. I just selecting my lamp here. I have here my faces which will emit light afterwards, which emits light in real life. And so I just select this and go to the material tab and create a new material, new, and assign this to this single face here, because this is just the modifier which will be there as well later. And the only thing what we have to do is just scrolling down and check out the emission tab, which is currently black. Black means it is zero emission, and when we just rise this to white, then this will create an emission. You can already see the reflection here in the class shader. And the emission strength is currently 1, and I just rise this maybe to 30. And then you see that this is already affecting our glass tank. So we don't actually need this area light here. We just can work with an material which is working as an emission shader. And this is probably as well good to know that this is working. But you have to note that this shader is only pointing to the direction where the face orientation belongs to. So the face orientation is going down directly to this side. And so the light is only going to this side. And for sure, I need to go to object mode and not to edit mode. So this setup is different than this one here. So I will just make a screenshot. And now you have the comparison. So this is actually the emitting material shader, and this is the light source which is emitting the light. So there are small differences between those two, and I guess and it depends what you want to work with. And this was just my quick attention to this video tutorial. And this is really our final result. For sure we need to adjust this and all, and put some more effort to the light sources, to the material, to the textures, and trying to get a realistic feeling of this scene. And for sure the modeling is still not finished yet, and then everything is getting better. Soon I will add water to this tank and to add a soil ground landscape, so that we can fill our water tank with some materials and getting really a nice aquarium in the end. Okay, this is all so far. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope if you like this video tutorial, then give me a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this. So I wish you a nice day, all the best, till the next time, Cheers!